We got Ray Reyes in the house today. Me and Kevin are excited about this dude.
Yeah.
We met him at the Cleveland event that Mark Evans hosted, roughly a month ago, something like that. And Ray has been mentored by a beast of a trades guy that exited his business at about $32 million, I believe. Ray worked underneath in that company before he exited, and then Ray went out and did his own thing. So you're going to be amazed, inspired, and you're also going to learn a lot from this journey. So, Ray, man, I appreciate you coming on and taking some time to share with the audience your journey in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me and connecting with the Blue Collar Millionaire. It was a great time in Cleveland with Mark and DMA Group and the family. And I really didn't. I'm in DMA as well, and I didn't really know what you guys had going on until we really connected. So just being in that room, able to connect with you guys. You guys are in the service business as well, is huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's massive getting in the rooms. You just don't realize the talent that you will get exposed to when you get in these rooms, the right rooms. And the DM Alliance, Cleveland's Birthday Bash, the DM family, those are three amazing rooms and events to get in. Dude, tell us about where you started. I want to hear your journey. I want the audience. I know a little bit about it, but I know I'm about to hear a lot more.
Yeah. Let me start. So I'm a master plumber, licensed HVACR in the state of New Jersey. 16 in the plumbing business. My uncle had a plumbing company. So, in school, I really didn't do that well. I'll be honest with you. School wasn't my thing. But I remember, I don't know if I got suspended or in trouble in school. And my uncle was like, all right, you got to come work with me, And he had a rental family up in Summit, New Jersey. It's a really nice area. And he had like frozen pipes and we were throwing them out. And then I think the next day at one of his other rentals, he had a clogged sewer. And I literally was like, I'm never going to do this. This is disgusting. It's dirty. But at the same token, it was really easy for me. Like school was not my thing. You know what I mean? But as far as like working with my hands, that was a God-given ability. The thing is, I'm really smart. When I was like 14, I told my father, I was like, hey, listen, I like sports, but I don't like school. So if I go to Votech, I can do sports and hang out with the girls and then, not have to go to like the classes or whatever. But he's like, no, you're too smart. You got to go business school. You're going to be a businessman, and like, that was like my first roadblock, at like 14, but actually let me rewind a little bit. My first job was 7. Maybe 10. I had a paper route. So I had a paper route in my little town, Spotswood, New Jersey. It was called the Sentinel. So it was like 10 cents and I would just hustle, every day after school. There was an older kid had a route. I would do his. There was another kid on a Saturday had a route. I would do his. So I didn't grow up with a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I just had this hustle mentality to make it happen. My parents, my dad's from Cuba, my mom's from Mexico. So they had humbling beginnings, but they definitely loved us. They gave us roof over our head. But that mentality they had was like, get a job, work, really similar to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I had read that book at 16, but it didn't start clicking until I read it again at 28. But so around 16, I started plumbing. My uncle, he was a master plumber, and he's still in the business today. Excuse me. He's a service manager for a large company up in North Jersey. I'm sure he does pretty well. And then I had another uncle who was a drug addict, and he lived in his van, but he's very talented, and in my early career, I would call him, like, hey, I'm on this boiler, I'm on this furnace, I'm on this crazy job. What do I do? He always had the time for me.
The drug addict uncle?
Yeah.
Man, I see that so often to where you've got these extremely talented tradespeople that end up with addictive situations that really cripple them, or they let them cripple them. Alcohol and drugs I have seen so many talented people that have come through and worked. Like when I was a kid with my dad, and they'd have to go get their tools they'd pawned all their tools. So they were trying to rebuy their tools, just got out of rehab, trying to come up. They would do good for a few months and then they'd relapse again and go right back into the hole that they were before. It's really sad of the talent that gets wasted in the trades. They could do so well, like 6-figure talents. So it's that don't surprise me that you told me that.
Yeah. So his name was Pat, and he was great. He could fix his van, fix boilers, fix air conditioning, did plumbing. Like, and he would never like me if I needed help. You know what I mean? He'd always be like, yeah, let's try this, let's try that. You know, sizing systems, sizing boilers, sizing furnaces. You know, looking at big houses or commercial jobs. There was never a time where he made me feel stupid. You know what I mean? He'd be like, all right, try this, try that. And, you know, we'd always find a way. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, my other uncle, very successful, you know, just didn't have the time. You know what I mean? It's all good. They both kind of, you know, brought me into the business or whatever. But when I was 18, I went into the military because, you know, I always wanted to do the trades, but then I did it a little bit when I was 16. You know, my uncle did put that system in my parents' house. He put a furnace, coil, and condenser. And I remember seeing these guys like, you know, using or whatever on their truck. And it was like a little scary, but I was like, man, these guys are really talented. You know what I mean? And I always heard you can make a lot of money in the plumbing and HVAC, you know, world. So when I went to the military, I was 18. I was an MP. I did about 2 years active duty, and then I got off on reserve leave after 2 years. And at that point, you know, I said, you know what, I'm going to become a police officer because I have this military training and everybody seems to either go fireman or policeman. So I took the test. You know, I couldn't get a job. It was like 2008, you know, that last decline. So I got a job as a plumber's helper at $9 an hour. And it wasn't much money. But the guy who was my boss, he was a master plumber. And he was a union plumber in New York City. So he did big work. He did high risers, schools, you know, big jobs in Manhattan. So I started working with him and we were doing high risers in Jersey City, Woodbridge, like, you know, cities around New Jersey. And he was really patient with me. I didn't even know how to use a Sawzall. I didn't know how to cut a pipe. I knew nothing, you know what I mean? But he had the time to teach me, you know, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, actually what happened was there was a mechanic that worked for me. He was a garbage man in New York. So he would work from 6 a.m. to 2 as a plumber and then go work as a garbage man from 4 to 12, right?
Wow.
And he told me, he was like, listen, you're 21, you should get a second job. So I worked at a restaurant. Now I worked at some restaurants in high school. So I literally was like, man, I don't want to go back to the restaurant business, but I had no money. You know what I mean? So I worked plumbing in the morning from 6 to 2. And then I would go into the restaurant at 4 o'clock till whenever, you know? Yeah. And then I did that for about maybe a year and a half. And I grew up with these kids in my town, and they worked at Gold Medal, and which is Mike A's old company. And they had they were a big company. And I remember applying to them, and you know, I needed to know somebody. So I knew somebody. And the first interview I had with the general manager, he was like, "Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? How you know these guys?" I was like, "Oh, I grew up with them, you know, playing sports." And he goes, "Well, listen, I really like you. You're a nice guy." But this was like the biggest thing he said to me. He said, "Listen, Ray, I don't have a job for you." And I was like, oh man. And I had to sell myself right then and there. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I wanted to do better in my life. And I was like, listen, if you hire me, it'll be the best hire you ever had in your life. I'll work harder than anybody. I will do anything you need me to do. You know, whatever. He was like, are you ready to be a tech? And I was like, no, I'm not ready to be a tech, but give me 3-4 months, train me. I'll be the best one you have. And literally that's what happened. You know, I started like $15 an hour, and I think it took me about 6 months, you know, to get in my own truck. But while I was there, I was exposed to so much, you know, plumbing, heating, air, electric, bathrooms, kitchens, remodeling. And then Hurricane Sandy happened in 2012.
Yep.
So I was doing electric for like 2 years because of all the flooded basements, all the electric lines that were knocked down. And I was also cross-training as a plumber and an HVAC guy. And I really, nothing was beneath me. I would do a dig one day. I would do a bathroom the next day. I would, you know, do a water service, and then I would run service. And I didn't know a lot. I was so young, you know what I mean? But I was eager. And I think the biggest blessing was making a phone call. Like, hey, I got this going on. What do you think I should do here? Like I said, back to my uncle, you know, So I got exposed to so much, Gold Medal was such a big company. When I got there, they were about 24 million. And within 10 years, they were at 32 million.
Wow.
And that's when they exited. But from being a technician, learning how to sell, setting expectations, talking, communicating. And those 6 months I rode around as a helper. I was like, people talk shit, like you're not gonna make it, this and that. I mean, I got in my truck. I was 22. I remember a senior guy being like, "Yo, that's a nice truck. I'm gonna have it in 6 months." And I was like, "All right, we'll see." And I never went back. But I just wanted to be number one, and whether it was technically, sales wise, mechanically, learning the codes, going to school, like I fell in love with it. You know what I mean? It was a love affair, honestly. And like I said, anything was not beneath me. Whether I was digging a hole full of shit or, working in a multi-million-dollar house in Cold Snack or Deal or Rumson, or if I was in the hood, it didn't matter. I treated everybody the same, and
Right.
I'm grateful because like their pricing structures, for 32 million is up 200 employees. So you're not selling things at a low cost. So you have to build value, and
Right.
I would always tell customers, hey, look, you're getting 24/7, 365 guarantees, warranties. You're getting the best of the best permits, distinguish yourself from those one-man shops and those cheap low ballers. And that's what I train today. But that journey I went through, setting up leads for salesmen and like waiting for them, introducing them to the customer, watching the salesman go through his process, whether it was generator, a sewer line, a electric panel. Today in my company we do all that as well. And that exposure I had really was like the foundation, And I remember being at a supply house one day and I ran into another plumber and he's like, look, I worked at Gold Medal for 1 year and I opened my own company. And he didn't have a license. He just found like some old guy with a license. And he's like, if I didn't work there, I don't know where I'd be today. Wow. And like he's a one-man band. Maybe does like 500 or 600 grand. He's just stuck in that rut for so many years. So then I worked there for a while, and I had a service manager come, from Roto-Rooter, and this was when they were like really blowing out the $93 drain cleanings. So he implemented this process where every time you snake a sewer, you need to get a camera guy behind you. That was back in like 2014. So that was like my main thing, setting up leads. So I would get a percentage towards my commission and I would get a spiff as well. So it was like working less, but making more, you know what I mean? Kind of just like being like a point guard, looking to set the next guy up so he can come in and capitalize and I could learn from him. And I did that. And, it was like the bonus and the spiff structure they had, as an employee, I saw some other guys making 150, 180. I never seen money like that unless you were like a doctor or a lawyer.
That's big money.
Yeah, money. I mean, I have employees that make way more than that today, but I want to get there. It's like a journey. My journey is, so starting from that service background, mechanical background with the union plumber. Then I went to a smaller company, about 10 trucks, and I had my first sales coach. He was a really nice guy. He owns it's called the Service Blueprint. It's a guy from Alabama. But he had came up to work with Mike A at Gold Medal, and he was like, Ray, you're a rainmaker, in his Alabama accent. I was like, what is that? He goes, you make it happen. You find a way. You look for a way. And I was like, okay. And he was doing ride-alongs with me, and I would go into a house and I'd sell 4 toilets, or I'd go into a house and sell the HVAC and the plumbing and the water heater. And he's like, you just find a way, And there was a couple things he taught me that I still take today. One was to serve with love, right? So when you're with a client, I don't care, commercial, residential, you're not going to be respectful. You're going to thank them for the opportunity. And the other thing was just say no, So when a client's like, hey, your price is so expensive, or I wasn't anticipating this, can you do better? Honestly, to really do this job the right way, I can't. It has to be this way because everything's included that I need to do. So learning to say no was a huge, powerful sales tactic that I learned, that I train my guys today. The other thing that I learned from Roger was to cut the rope, right? There's some people in your life that are cancerous, that are weighing you down, that are pulling your energy, right? And saying no to them is a lot harder than saying no to a client. But in order to grow, you have to cut the rope, right? So those couple things I still take with me today. And that was maybe 10 years ago, so.
Yeah.
And really nice guy. He's like, I had never even heard of New Jersey until Mike called me, and that, like, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but my long-term goal is to coach clients, teach them the formula, help them get to exit, grow like crazy. And the thing about Roger is he would never give them too much. He just give them enough so they keep eating, and it would never grow. It'd be stagnant. I mean, today, 10 years ago, they probably have less trucks now, which is like the complete opposite of what you want to do. You should have exited 5-6 years ago. But yeah, so after that, I actually blew my knee out 2016. I was working, clearing a sewer line up in Hillsborough, really nice house. And I remember I was bringing in $100,000 a month. This was in 2016. So whatever, 7 years ago, which was a lot back then. So it was 1.2 million as a tech. That's unheard of. And today we can get those $1 million techs, but back then it was like a good truck ran like 400,000, 360. So I was doing 2-3 trucks worth of work by myself. And I remember the owner talking to me, and I was like, listen, I'll do everything. I'll run the digs. I'll run the whatever. I just need a helper, man. Give me a helper and I'll go to work and I'll kill it. And I just want to get paid. And the owner, he'd always play at my commission checks, and he'd kind of keep me tied down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to leave because he's got my commission. I'm always playing catch up. So I had integrity and morals. Like, that's my value system, is to be honest, and those are my core values today in my company. But back then, going through that experience, it was a blessing. You know what I mean? It was a blessing to get hurt, which is hard to say today because I blew my knee out, tore my meniscus, my patella, my MCL. I was out of work for 9 months, and I remember his partner, he would call me, hey, Ray, man, just jump in the truck. I'll get a helper to drive you or whatever. I'm like, oh, now you want to get me a helper after I'm hurt, because they were feeling it, And so after 9 months, I came back, and I remember saying, I'm like, look, I need to sell because I hurt with that bum knee. Like, I want to get back to where I was. And he said, yeah, we'll take it, running me to the ground, And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I got to get out of here. Even if I lose the commissions that he owes me, whatever, I got to go because it's not right. It's not a good work environment. They don't value me. So I learned a lot about that, like today with my company. But so I went to another company as a sales guy. I did 1.5 million in my first 4 or 5 months. I had some more issues with getting paid on commission because now I'm making more money than the owner. And they'd never seen anything like that. And at that old company that I got hurt at, I had set up a service system. I had set up a bonus system. I had set up a spiff system. So I was literally just going around from shop to shop, setting up their companies. I'm like,
so
listen,
Ray, to cut, not to cut you left Gold because Gold sold?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So then after Gold sold, you went and worked for these other guys.
Yeah. And I literally would just develop their systems, their processes, build their service department, build their sales department, show them what to do. And I just was doing it out of the kindness of my heart because I knew it worked and I wanted to be a winner,
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd still be doing that today if I didn't in 2020. So I did that for a couple of companies, jumping around, setting them up, making this. I would just get to the top where they couldn't pay me no more, and I'd feel like getting choked, So I'd go to the next spot, and every time I went, they're like, "What the hell? This is crazy." You know what I mean? Like, but this is all I knew. You know what I mean? I'm a thoroughbred. So I remember I actually got involved in a union and setting up a service system at a union company. So the unions want to compete now with the residential non-union companies. So I had helped them develop that system. And I remember thinking to myself, this was 2019, 2018. And we're rolling, we're growing like crazy. I'm bringing in the dig department, I'm bringing in electrical. And the lady, the general manager, she's like, I'm like, listen, just pay my commissions. You know what I mean? I'll kill for you, you know? And she was like, I can give you gift cards. And I'm like, gift cards? I'm like, I'm a grown man. I got kids. I got a mortgage. I can't take gift cards. But what happened was 2020, COVID happened. I had 3 little kids. My daughter was brand new. She was like 1. My twins were 3. I was married to the job. You know, like I would do anything for my family. So COVID happened, and I had gotten all my licenses in you know, the past 10 years or whatever. And they laid me off. They said, oh, well, the guys with kids, they got to stay home with their kids. So they laid me off. And I remember I was scared out of my mind. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm a worker. I'm a machine. I make money. And my wife was like, you know what? I think this is God telling you it's your time. Let's do it. Let's open this company, right? And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, it's time. Now, like, I never opened a business. You know, I had always like a little side hustle while I worked for somebody. I had learned a couple things. I opened a little LLC. It was called like Reyes and Sons because I'm Cuban, and it was cool. But only Spanish people call me. So I was like, which not a bad thing. But I was like, listen, I want to be diverse. So then I said, you know what? Maybe A&R. Alyssa and Ray, my wife, A&R services. So then I was like, mom and pop. So I called my friend and I was like, listen, I want to open a company. What do I do? He's like, look at the market you're in. Distinguish yourself. Find something that nobody has. So I started looking all over New Jersey. I was thinking like Cornerstone Services, Elite Services, like, you know, like a big name.
Yeah.
And then I this thing came to me. I'm like, everybody says I'm like a doctor. Everybody says when I go there, I figure it out. Nobody else can figure it out. And it came to me. I'm like, pipe doctor. So I started looking around, and I'm like, looking in New Jersey. There was like a pipe doctor like many years ago up in like Elizabeth or something. And like on Google, I couldn't find anything. I found a guy in New York. It was called, I forget his name, but it was like in Long Island, right? And there was like a handyman. His name was like Home Doctor. So immediately I like messaged these guys. I'm like, hey, look, I'm looking to start a company. I'm not trying to step on your toes. I just have a decency and respect for people. So I'm like, look, I want nothing to do with your companies. I'm about to build a monster. It's going to be called NJ Pipe Doctor. Whether you like it or not, I'm just doing it. And that was 3 years ago. And I had a Ram 1500. I had a little one garage, and my first employee, it was actually the first day I got laid off, and it's giving me goosebumps. You know what I mean? Because it just, God, and the timing was everything. And you know, so I got this little garage, this little pickup truck. I brought a little magnet. I put it on the side of my truck, and I started buying, like, you know, I didn't even have a snake. I was renting snakes. I was renting. I had no money. I literally had $3,000 in the bank, and 3 little babies, and my wife who was not working. And we're like, it's now or never, you know. And the first day I started, some kid called me. He's like, hey, I heard you're a plumber. I want to be a helper. I was like, listen, I'm a plumber, but I don't really have a business. But if you're down to work, I could pay you $13 an hour. I'm like, I started at 9. Today, that guy 3 years later is making so much money. He's my right-hand man. We're killing it. You know what I mean? But so we started, like, you know, Facebook, like, hey, I opened this little company. Call me. I got little kids. Like, we're down to do whatever. And it was crazy because COVID happened and nobody wanted to work, you know? And I'm like, this is the time. And like where I live in Jersey, all the people from Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island were moving into New Jersey, and they didn't have a plumber. And the old plumbers were like petrified to work, lazy as hell. And we just took over. We did 1.6 our first year, me and him.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yep. No, just me and him. And I taught him everything: plumbing, electric, HVAC, sales, processes. And I remember driving with him. I'm like, listen, bro, one day, it's hard to see right now, but we're going to have a fleet of trucks. We're going to have a shop. We're going to take over. We're going to run on these big guys. They're going to be scared of us. And today, 3 years later, we're on pace to do 7.5 million. And we have 18 vehicles, and next year I'm projected at 12 million. And got equity firms calling me like crazy. I'm not selling right now, but I think that first year, man, it was crazy. You know, I would be up till like, I think I shared this with your group, like 12, 1 o'clock, just invoicing. I didn't have a secretary. I didn't have an office staff. I didn't have a permit department. I didn't have a 401k. I had nothing, but I just said to myself, one day we're going to have all that. And like today we have all that. And we would ride in the truck. And I'm like, listen, we got to cut this tree down. We're going to cut it up and put it in the back of the pickup truck. We're going to go get material, put it in the back of the pickup truck. We're going to do the job. And we did it, and that's the story, and like your first believer, right? My man's Joe, right? It's my main man. But my wife would always say, I'm your first believer, right? And then Joe's like, no, I'm your first believer. So, but if I didn't have my wife to support me from the beginning, none of this would be possible, right? And as I grew, the first truck, here's a secret that I definitely recommend, whether you're one truck, just by yourself and pick up, spend the money with the best marketing team, spend the money with the best branding team, get around the people that have already done it before, and my first year doing 1.6 using QuickBooks by myself and some real estate accountant who had no idea what he was doing. I mean, we had to really clean it up. And, my mentor hooked me up with his accountant team, and that was the game changer, because now I could project the growth. I could project the profits. I could account for everything. I could set up all the different businesses. I can learn real estate. I can, as I open more companies, I got my team behind me. I don't make any decisions without my accounting firm, my lawyers, the real estate people, all the people they connected me to. That was the game changer. Like my team behind me now is strong. I'm confident. I don't really worry because I have a team behind me. I can talk to them before I make any decisions. As an owner, right, I don't need to be doing sales. And that was another big thing. My second year, I had to like drop the tools, which I love. It was like my identity, right? Running the jobs, doing it perfect, looking at my work, admiring my work, and especially my customers. And, Mark has said this. I think I was in an island or something listening to him, and he was like, listen, you're so used to me, but I have somebody who can take care of you even better than I can, because that's their job. Right now, as the owner, I'm with my accountant, I'm with my lawyers, I'm with my management team. I can't be in the field. The company can't grow, can't prosper, right? So today, like, I'm negotiating, vendor deals. I'm getting, better pricing. I'm working on visionary stuff with the people around me so they understand, in the beginning, also my marketing company I partnered with, every week we met. There was no week where I didn't meet with them, because I was like, all right, this is what's working, this is what's not working. Always course correcting, right? And spending the money. I think the other day in the group we talked about how much are your personal development. I'm like, my personal development is at 150, right? Because I need that. I need that to sustain this and to keep growing and to be a better leader and a better owner, And you know what? I was talking to Chris about this. I remember my second year, maybe I had 10 employees. I think we're at like 30 now. And it was summertime, and we had put these two big systems in a clubhouse up in North Jersey, Fort Lee, which is like the top of New Jersey. And I'm down in Ocean Grove, and my kids are about to get baptized in the water with the pastor. And I got the call that there's no air in the clubhouse. They got this big birthday party. And I remember jumping in my truck on my little vacation and driving up there crying on the turnpike. Like, man, I'm missing this major thing in my life because this business is dragging me down. And as I'm driving up there, I'm like, man, this is what I need. I'm going to hire people. I'm going to grow this. I'm not playing no more. Like, this is what I need. That pain, right, will catapult you to where you need to get to, right? And like the first year, if I went on vacation, I tried subbing stuff out, I'd have so much anxiety because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose this account. I'm gonna get in trouble. Today, like, thank God for my team and my leaders. Like, I can go on vacation and it does better without me,
Yeah.
Which is a blessing, and through the journey every year, me and my wife acquire more real estate and grow our portfolio, because one day there's 3 ways to exit, right? You have succession, which is some people want that. You have exiting on your terms, equity firm, and then you have death, right? So I don't want succession and I don't want death. I want to exit on my terms, right? So getting it set up the right way with the right fiduciaries and accountants is what I'm focused on, right? I could sell it today. It's a beast, but the numbers aren't right, you know. The numbers have to be right for you, you know, and everybody has that number. And you know, like my Mike Gay, the owner of Gold Medal, like he set a trend at 8x multiples in 2016. Service companies now are getting anywhere from 10 to 15 multiples, right? So, you know, like when I talk to my accountant, he's like, Ray, where are you getting multiples like that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get that in real estate. You can't get that in the stock market, right?
No.
It's service-based businesses, right? So now, and here's another secret. You know, I don't want to give you everything I got, but I've acquired companies without $0, right? So, especially older guys that are tired, run down, I just say, hey, look, I'll take your clients on, I'll take care of them, and you're the middleman. I'll make sure that they get all taken care of the way you do, or probably better because I got more guys, and I'll give you a fake based off what you give me, you know, based off the numbers. Because then, you know, in Service Titan or your CRM, you can track your phone calls. So I think we've acquired like 3 one-man bands, no money out of pocket, and we just, you know, do a 2-year contract based off what you bring in. We take care of you. So I've been doing that, you know, and I've gotten some nice accounts, some good work, and then I have the.
So hold on, don't skip over that because that's a super important point that you're making right there. So you're grabbing the phone number and the little bit of branding that they have in the market, even though they're a one-man show, and you're purchasing them. And how are you compensating them?
They get a 10% fee off the work, off
And,
that phone number.
and that's tracked through your CRM system, Service Titan, so you can see everything that's coming in from that phone number.
Mhm.
And so they're getting a 10% on the gross sales off that number.
Correct.
Genius. I love it, man.
Yeah. And then it's cool because they already have the relationship with, like, say, a property manager or with a CEO of a company or a big facility that they've been working with. And we're just like, hey, we work together now. Ray's here, or one of my foremen are there. And then we have this point of contact to be like, all right, what do you, especially it's great because they can transition, like, hey, this is the problem usually here. This is how much we charge there.
Right.
And then I just had that conversation like, hey, we're going to serve you at a higher level because we have more guys, but the price is going to go up a little bit.
Right.
But I guarantee you that we're going to do better than they did. And what happens is, right, so once you do that, they start giving you more because they know you can handle it.
Yeah.
Right.
And they know you're a professional and you're going to take care of them, right? So, and, you know, the other thing is your marketing dollars, right? So you want to know where your marketing dollars are going, especially as you're projecting and growing. So, like, honestly, my marketing is so cheap. It's like 3-4%. And we've been able to double, triple it.
What's some of the key success points that has allowed you to, I mean, your first year hitting 1.6, that's insane. I mean, that is amazing.
Yes.
So what is some of the things, I know I went and worked for a Fortune 500 company called CarMax when I was in my 20s for about 3.5 years. And I picked up some really good tips from working for a company that was so well built with their systems and operations. So what are some of the things that you were able to pick up from Gold Medal and bring into yours that's really allowed you to kind of cut down that learning curve of owning your own business?
So, like, you know, in the beginning, you're just trying to get money in the bank account, right?
Right.
And we did anything, sheetrock, concrete, whatever we had to do, right? But at one point you're like, all right, I don't want to wait on my money. I need to get paid. So focusing on service and emergency service and emergency keywords for what you're working on.
Yeah.
People are going to wait on a remodel, you know what I mean? Or they're going to wait on a addition, you know, but a broken pipe, you know, a flooded basement, no air conditioning, no heat, you know, no power. These keywords you want to rank and populate, right? And like getting Google reviews is the easiest way to start populating locally. So, you know, compensating your people, compensating your customers to leave you those reviews. And
it's like a family, like, hey, you're helping us. And I spiff my guys based on reviews. So anytime their name's in a word, they get a certain spiff, compensating them for their time, for their efforts. Like when you're netting 30%, there's a lot of profit, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're netting after making, all the bonuses, commissions, marketing, all the overhead. So I feel like when you take care of people, they're going to fight for you, right? If you're going to be cheap with them and you're going to try to rob your own people, guess what? You're hurting yourself, right? So you got to think bigger, think
Yeah.
bigger, think long term, really getting that vision on paper and getting your team on board with you, especially as a visionary. And you might be the implementer, you might not be the visionary. So you need to get the right person in the right seat, right? And the fiduciary accounting squad, I got planning and targets, right? And then tracking your P&L. I mean, in the beginning, you're like so overwhelmed, you're wearing all the hats. And then you get scorecards and you get an org chart and you create the same systems of Fortune 500 companies doing. And like, today I had an equity firm call me and that was the first thing they asked. So like, can I see your org chart? Yeah, no problem. I'm like, but I'm not ready. So it's like, I'll do it on my terms.
Right. I love that, man. So do you, and you may not want to disclose this. Let me ask you this instead of a number. Well, do you have a gross revenue number in mind where you would consider equity firm? And if you don't want to disclose that, then what size organization do you have before you would start thinking about possibly selling?
Or what's the multiple that you feel like?
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah, 12, 15, that's a number,
How does a company that buys it at 12 or 15 make money?
So this is what they do. They don't just buy you, they buy other companies, right? So they wrap them all up and then they bring it again and roll it over again. So like a company like Gold Medal has been acquired maybe 2 or 3 times after, at 32 million in 2016. They're going to do 120 this year because the equity firms got the money to pump into marketing, brand awareness.
So you've seen that company grow massively since that exit?
So if they were at 32 million and today they're at 120, that's
they're
3 times,
4 times the size.
Yeah. And they're also, like it's Wall Street now, it's big money. They want you and they want the other companies around you to roll you up, to get a bigger evaluation.
I got so many questions. This is incredible. This is maybe my favorite story. This is pretty incredible. I want to say one thing before I go. When Ray says he did this in 3 years, you really did it over like more than 10 years because you put all that work in to get you ready to do it within 3 years. And I know you had the team to help you, but that people always said that overnight success, it happened a long time ago. I always feel like that for me, like I had like a lot of success in my 40s, but it was like I did a lot of things wrong, but those things set me up.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about your accounting team because we're talking about Mike Gaines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell us how that works. I did a call with Mike. I'm planning on switching over, doing the part-time CFO and everything. I've watched what's happened. So tell us how that works because I don't think people understand how powerful that is.
So, it's all right. So when you have Mark Evans, Mike A, some big players that are working with him already, he's already done it. So he knows what to do. So he's coaching you. You're paying for him to coach you. Right. Get your numbers right, categorize. So like with us with Service Titan, I have an office manager, I have an accounting manager. They're working with them to reconcile, to make sure our numbers are correct, to get the banking in order, to get the projections in order, to get the multiples in order, to get the EBITDA in order, and then consulting me to show me how to grow it the right way, right? Which company to open, how to, project, taxes and tax planning and exit strategies and growth succession and, mapping it all out, right? Because at the end of the day, I didn't know all this. You know what I mean? Who does? Right. And I've had a crappy accountant, and I've had an accountant who said he knows what he's doing. But guess what? Somebody who says they know what they're doing and somebody who's already did it, that's the key. You want to get around the people who already did it, right? So like if I'm reaching out to somebody, they've already done it. I don't want somebody to tell me what they think they know. I want the actual answer. So that's, like, and here's my thing. My accountant's like, oh, Ray, you can already start, taking on clients and coaching. But then my mentor who's already done it is like, Ray, you don't have the time. Get to the top, exit, and then coach, right? Because now you have the time, right? I have 3 kids.
So you're thinking of doing a CEO warrior when you're done? Kind of similar system?
So I'm still a client there. So I really, I respect them. Yeah. But at some point you outgrow, who you're working with, right? So it was a great starting point. Don't get me wrong. If you have no fundamentals, no core values, no visionary, you have no idea to open a business, a company like Nextstar or CEO Warrior, those companies are great. If you want to grow there faster, you want to get with somebody who's already done it. Because what happens is a master advisor, they're cool. They've been a GM at a company, or they've been a sales manager, or they've been an operations manager. So they're going to be put in that position, which is awesome. But to get an owner who's done it day in, day out, had to make the payroll, had to grow credit cards and take on the risk and buying trucks and buying vans and buying buildings and getting, material and inventory. And, you want to get around somebody who's already done it. You know what I mean? So,
go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead, Kev.
No, I wanted to ask you, because this is so important, how you connected with Mike A. I know you worked with him, but how did you get him to kind of mentor you? He's a super high level guy. I mean, that's not easy.
So here's the thing, right? I would be posting on social media, like me in a truck full of shit on my face, right? Or me struggling with like, oh my God, I got so much work and I got 3 kids and my wife and I have no time for myself, right? And I did that, and he would reach out to me like, Ray, man, you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? I could help you, right? And I remember, this is off the record. So my first time, I paid him.
Ran off the record because we laugh.
So whatever the training was, maybe it was 10 grand for like 8 weeks, right? I didn't have the money, you know what I mean? And he said, listen, I'll cut in half for you. And I was like, all right, well, I still don't have the money. He's like, all right, well, let's do payments, right? And I said, okay. So every like week or two was like, whatever, $1,000. And I'm like, I never spent that much money in my life, right? To get around it. But once I got exposed to it, I'm like, dude, he's giving me knowledge, man. He's giving me the answers that I desperately need. And then as you pay more, you get more knowledge, right? So I started to get a good relation. I did this training with him called Unlocking the Wealth Code, right? He has a lot of trainings. There's one in September I'm going to. It's called Seekers of Power, and all these trainings stack right on you as a leader, as an owner or visionary or whatever your role is, right? Most of the time you're around owners, in that world, and high level multi decamillionaires and people that want to be billionaires too. Right. Getting exposed to those people is like that's a big notch. Just like we talk about Mark's group. But if you're in this the service business, you want to get around people that have already done service, grown service businesses, exited service businesses. So when we did Unlocking the Wealth Code, I had to rewrite my generational story, right? My relationship with money. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a great starting point, right? Like your rich dad versus your poor dad. But I had to rewrite, like when you let go of your father or your grandfather or your great grandfather, that lineage, that poverty curse, right? And then you write a new chapter and you write it down and you live it and you breathe it. And then you like Mark will talk about your vision board, like, just getting one-on-ones with Mike. And we would talk about like the house I live in today, is like a 7-bedroom, 4-bathroom house with custom pool, the life by design, right? So, and then, growing my real estate portfolio at the same time, getting enough ROI where money's not a problem anymore, thank God. But developing the people in your company to relieve you, to be able to focus on that, because guess what? If you're growing, your team needs to grow. If your team's not growing, you're going to fall, right? And in your relationship as well. So your marriage, getting getting you and your wife or whatever your spouse aligned and make sure they're on the same page. At one point, we were like on left field, right field. You know what I mean? And getting that clarity and alignment with my wife, my kids, my company, my managers, my leaders, my team. Greatest satisfaction for me is seeing people make 300,000-400,000 for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
somebody making
Yeah.
6 figures that never made that much before, or so, these guys buying new cars, and the CRM is great, but like having AI and different things inside your company to automate, like Slack, excuse me, and creating those cultures where the machine is just people around us, they know that we're going to the promised land.
I'm so encouraged after this.
I know this is.
I felt the same way when I met you, and we sat on that rooftop the first night in Cleveland when you were telling your story and your journey, because I just love the grit. It's such a it's a consistent story when you really get the details of all of the entrepreneurs bootstrapping it from ground up. The difference with your story, though, in most, is you put a ton of mentorship and more talented people around you when you got a little bit of money. And I think that's really what's accelerated. Like, you had pure grit that first year, and then 2 and 3 year, you really saw massive success, I believe, because of the mentorship.
This is the blueprint. I mean, this is an incredible story. I remember, John Yablonsky, a friend of mine, old school, Ray and him knew each other. I guess Ray used to watch his kids or something. It's so weird how world's small. We're all from New Jersey. And John was telling me, hey, there's this guy, Ray, and he's in the DM Alliance, and he grew this business to millions of dollars in like 3 years. And I remember I wasn't doubting, but I was just like, really? In 3 years? Because that just doesn't happen, And I was asking, John was like, no, he's like the real deal and all this. And then I meet you, and it's like you did everything right. It's like the hustle so real. That's one part of it. But then the presence of mind to, like, everything was thought out, the blueprint of getting around. You stumbled. We all do, like with accountants and everything, but you pivoted very quickly and got around people. I love what you're saying. It's, I only want to talk and deal with people who did it already, not who are figuring it out. And that combination is why you're making millions of dollars. And I put a post in yesterday about, are you born with the dog in you, or do you develop it? And I knew a lot of people were going to post about how they got their dog in them for their whole life and everything. Listen to this interview and then maybe question if you really. Yeah. Ray is on a whole nother level. I love, there's always levels to this.
Yeah, no, and being grateful and thankful, right? Because the universe wants to give. And if you're not, it's just going to go to the next person, right? So getting aligned with the universe and your mindset, right? Why not me? What is that roadblock that's stopping you? You got to get to that answer, and you got to crush it. And then you got to peel that layer off and get to the next level, like you just said, Kev, because there's always another level, and being in Mike A's world was awesome, and I learned a lot. But like getting around Mark Evans and you guys, and that's another level, you know what I mean? And I have another, mastermind that I'm involved in as well. And I'm actually helping somebody else make a mastermind. And, like, the universe is going to call you to serve, right? You could call it God, whatever, right? But you got to answer that freaking ring. You got to answer that phone call and take it and crush it. And, Mark said something the other day about text, message, and then let them know, like, you appreciate what they got going on. Just that relationship capital and getting around the right people. You want to co-create, right? You don't want people around you that haven't done it, or if they haven't done it, they got a bad attitude. You want people that did it already, that are going to encourage you, that are going to be like, yo, that's a great idea. This is what we got to do. This is how we're going to crush it. You create that energy and that movement where you're a force, and everything I remember hearing like, oh man, everything that guy turns is to gold, right? And really getting that relationship with money, because like they say, the rich are evil. The rich, what did they do to get there? No, they're not. Because I know now they did the work. The 1% will do the work that the 99% won't.
right? So getting that relationship with money and abundance, right? So I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, money's everywhere. Anywhere I go, it's there. If I meet somebody, I can talk to them, I can help them out, I can connect them with someone else. And then also the Jay Abrams rule, right? So you want to get a affiliate marketing program, get people around you that whatever tradesmen, you could have a painter, electric, whatever, multi trades where you guys are feeding each other and you're giving each other, a percentage of the work that you're giving them. And it could turn into I was talking to Chris about it with my restoration company. Yep. We make I make over 6 figures just giving them work. And my guys probably all make like 10, 15 grand a year just giving them work. And that's just one source. One source. There's many, Yeah.
That's what is your best marketing effort? Is it straight SEO? Is it the affiliate? Is it a Google guaranteed? Is it Google pay per click? What is it?
So it could be different for you, but basically tracking it is the number one thing, right? If you're not tracking it, you don't know. So a CRM will give you your breakdown of where your marketing sources are coming through, training your customer service reps to ask how you got the referral, how'd you hear about us. You want to make sure you're tracking. That's the first step, right? Then the second step is you're looking at it monthly and then course correcting, right? So if you see you're putting money into this bucket and it's not working, hey, I want to move that here, right? So me sitting down with my marketing company, looking at the keywords, what's working, what's not working, and continuing to course correct, because you don't want to just throw money and it's not working. Like I said, if I could grow at 3 or 4%, technically, like if you talk to your accountant or your fiduciary, they're going to say an aggressive growth is 8, 9, 10%, even 12% if you're looking to exit. But you don't even need to do that. You really need to know where your marketing is coming from, where your lead sources are coming from, and which are your most profitable ones.
Yeah. So, shoot, I had a really good question I was about to ask you. Kevin, you got something while I'm thinking of it? I wanted to get this question before we ended the interview.
I don't know, but I want Ray coming to a blue collar millionaire mastermind.
Absolutely, you got to come speak.
Yeah, we get
this thing put together for the first week of October, man. If you can make it, we would love to have you come as a speaker.
You know what? I thought this was Blue Collar Millionaire. I'm not really sure.
No, this is Blue Collar Millionaire Facebook group. But we do events, live events like what Mark did, not on that scale. They're smaller, 10, 15 in-person events at a really nice.
Everybody would appreciate this. I'll just love the story. There's so much to it. I mean, this is been.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask. So what do you do to retarget your customers after you acquire them? What do you do to increase the lifetime value of your customers? Anything? Or is it a one shot and then you just hope that they have a plumbing issue later?
No. So, like a membership program, we have a thank you program, a follow-up thank you phone call. There's some automation as well. Like you can have, some companies, I don't want to say their names, but like a Chirp or some other companies where they're like touching your customers, letting them know. So through my marketing company, I have somebody weekly touching them, thanking them, giving like free tips like, hey, it's heating season, or hey, electric spikes are coming, make sure your generator's tuned. I didn't even know about a generator, and then obviously your branding, like I have a mailing. I also have a direct pay-per-click, and all these different avenues to make sure I'm in front of clients. Like my existing customers are my avatars, right? So we want to get the sewer line, the water line, the water heater, the HVAC system, the generator, the service panel, all these different avenues, and then our affiliate companies that we work with, taking care of them so they don't call anyone else. They just want to deal with us. They trust us. We have the reputation. Like getting your Google's reviews to 4.9, 5-star is huge, and like in the beginning, I remember in the one local town, the highest service plumbing company had 23 reviews. I just focused, let me get to 23. Now I'm like, all right, let me get to 400, So there's definitely levels, organic, cheap leads, or, Facebook, moms groups. There's a lot of different ways to get your word out there. I mean, I pay people to refer us on different, Facebook groups and Instagram groups, and like they're real customers. I give them referral fees,
Like, hey, show some pictures of the work we did so that it speaks for itself, right? And, like, we're willing to do the right thing, right? No lying, no cheating, no stealing, taking care of our clients. And like, the best customer is your employee. If they're not happy, how is your client going to be happy?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, man. I love it. We'll yeah, me and Kevin got to get you back in and figure out some way to get you to kind of dive more deeper into how you compensate your team, more detailed, kind of get the mechanics of your business. Because, dude, thank you for coming on. This has been an
Great.
amazing.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, there's so much success you've had, and it's not easy. And I know that you've inspired a lot of entrepreneurs out there that's watched this to just dig back in and surround themselves with the right people, the right information, and they're robbing some belief from you, from your success, which is amazing. Yeah, how do people get in touch with you, dude?
So here's the thing, right? I've kind of wanted to be quiet and just be a quiet storm, right? But now I got so much knowledge, so much to offer, and but I don't want to take away from the great things I have going on in my family and my company. I really wouldn't do you a service as your coach right now. At one point, I will be taking on clients. It's just not right now, so I want to be 100% transparent. I also want to say I'm really grateful and thankful. And Kevin, and John, I dated his niece like 20 years ago, and I used to babysit his kids with her. I didn't have kids, and then like I posted. Here's the thing, right? Posting, right? Social media. I posted at the Mark Evans came to Mike's event in Jersey, and I just posted a picture with him. And John's like, "Yo, man, Mark, I heard his name. My buddy Kevin, he's in this thing called Blue Collar Millionaire. I don't know what these guys are talking about." And I had no idea who you guys were or anything like that until you get in those rooms, right? And you get around those people, like-minded people, right? They always say you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So cancer people, negative people, that's great. Go live your life over there. I'm good. I'm winning. I want people around me that want to win. And, I get a lot of satisfaction of seeing people grow inside my company, outside my company, my kids' friends, my friends. If you're not trying to win and do better, I really don't have the time to like deal with you. You know what I'm saying? Like life's too short. And I remember Mike made me do an exercise. It's called a rocking chair exercise. It's where you imagine yourself as an old man. You're sitting in front of a lake house and you're just rocking. You close your eyes. And I looked and I was like, man, I impacted so many people. I helped so many people. I created so many jobs. But then when I did Sean Whalen's exercise on your bed, dead, and I seen my kids grown and my wife grown, and I was like, man, I don't want to lose the opportunity to help and serve. And obviously, a byproduct of your wealth is your level of service, right?
Yeah.
Like Mark and all these other guys, they don't have to do that. They do it because it empowers them, right? It gives them fulfillment.
Yep.
Because how many other people were just like us, no clue what to do, didn't know where to start, right? But if you can get around the right people to fast track you there and save your marriage, save your kids, like I tell my company all the time, I'm like, yo, listen, we can make all the money we want. But if it doesn't matter at home with your spouse and your kids, what the hell?
That's it, man.
And I mean that 100%.
That's it, dude. Look forward to talking to you again soon. If you guys want to follow Ray, what's your Facebook handle so people can just get in your network and watch what you're posting?
Yeah, check out my company, NJ Pipe Doctor.
There we go. All right,
NJ Pipe Doctor.
I'll tell you what you can do.
Instagram.
Y'all hop on his Google page and y'all give him a 5-star review and talk about how good of a character he has because he just shared it on the show, and that's not a lie right there. So, man, thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate your time. Blue Collar Millionaires, y'all keep making the millions and let's grow together.
Take care, guys. Thank you.